It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. Our first round of 9 for the Supersport category. We're at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Braselton, Georgia for MotoAmerica Superbikes at Road Atlanta. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast booth, and definitely welcome to Road Atlanta. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, Supersport is, well, it's kind of a different look this year. We lost a lot of people in this class that have gone on to do other things, but we know it's going to be fast and very competitive.
Yeah, we're going to have some new winners, although there's one guy out there that wants to add to his record-winning list, and that is Josh Hayes, as we'll see here in a minute. But it's been very tightly contested so far. We're a year under these new rule regulations. The GSXR 750 has matured, I guess you could say, into this class, and it's shown today with the front row, 2 bikes, 2 GSXRs on the front row.
The veteran Josh Hayes, of course, we're going to talk about more about him in a moment. But, Jay, you have to look at this and say Ty Scott is probably the favorite going into this championship.
There's no question. I think that when you look at what this team, this M4 team has done with that bike during the offseason, they've done a lot of work to get this bike better. They've got him comfortable on it, and it shows in a pole position here yesterday in Atlanta, Greg. He was really solid through the S's and even the last section of this track, and that's what really helped him get that pole position.
Really hard work in the offseason for him personally with his training regimen, and of course, as this bike continues to develop and get better and better for Ty Scott, he's getting more used to it. Let's take a look at how he did last year, because he had that big win at Road America, but he was third in the championship.
And he's very consistent. This young man does a lot of things really well. We've seen him make a couple of mistakes, but coming into the season now, he's the sophomore year of this class, as you would say. I think that we'll expect to see those numbers get even better, and like you said, it could be the man to beat.
Another rider who is looking at history here is this guy, Josh Hayes, who recently had his 48th birthday. And Jason, for Hayes, he's going for the all-time record.
Yeah, and I talked to him this morning, and he feels pretty good on the bike. He feels like the second half of the race, he's going to really try to see where he's at. We're hoping that we're going to see him at more than this race, obviously. Maybe see him at Barber in 3 weeks' time as well. But he's hungry to get this next win under his belt and become the all-time winningest rider in the history of our sport here.
So Josh Hayes still at it in Supersport. Let's take a look as we talk about that, Jay. So this is across all categories. It's Miguel Duhamel, who has 86 wins, who Hayes tied with him. In terms of active riders, Cameron Beaubier, who's back here in America, has got 75 wins. So if Hayes can win today, he's going to be the sole leader for wins all time in AMA competition, which is incredible. And you know what? Our very own Hannah Lopa is with Josh Hayes right now on the grid. Hi, Hannah.
Guys, it's a beautiful day for some racing, and it could be a beautiful day for breaking all-time win records. Josh Hayes, will today be the day?
I got a lot of laps still to do, but I know I have a good motorcycle with the Squint Hunter R6, and Yamaha's have been good to me for a long time. So it wasn't my best work, I don't think, yesterday, but I feel pretty good. I know it's a long run to turn 1. So if I can get through there clean and make some good, smart moves, stay with those front guys, I think maybe the second half of the race could work my way a little bit, and that's how it's kind of been in the past couple races. So my plan is to just stay in there as much as I can and hopefully put some real pressure and start forcing the issue a little towards the end.
Best of luck out there, Josh. Now, you did mention, guys, earlier that Josh Hayes just celebrated his 48th birthday. He is definitely no spring chicken, but he is still sticking it to these guys. One of his competitors, he's got more years of experience than he has years of a life. Tyler Scott celebrated his rookie season last year. We saw him make huge steps in the right direction. How do you plan to continue to build on that growth from last year?
Yeah, last year was a big learning year for us and the team, especially with the next-gen GSXR 750, and we got it pretty dialed in at the end of last year, electronics and mechanically, and I feel really good going into this weekend. The bike felt dialed straight off the truck, and they prepared an amazing bike for this race. Jeremy Toy, Dustin, and everyone that's on the team.
Starting off strong with the pole position today is Tyler Scott, guys.
And I think a lot of confidence with Ty Scott. And I mentioned he spent a lot of time in the offseason getting a little bit of strength and a little bit more muscle to muscle his GSXR 750 around a track like Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, Jay.
What a track. And you heard Josh Hayes say that he's got to get through that turn 1 clean. Really, that goes all the way through to turn 4. Very one-lined up that steep hill up to turn 2, 3, 4. After you come up out of 5, big rise down to turn 6, and then all-important turn 7. You want to get out of there good, Greg, because you can see that back straightaway. that point there, you got to see if you're alone or if you got a bunch of people chasing you, because you'll get drafted down into turn 10. From there, you're going to go up underneath that steep bridge down to the last turn, turn 12, and it's a short run to that finish line for these riders. So, you know, I think that you're going to end up seeing probably 5, 6, 7 guys up in this lead group. But at some tracks, Greg, it's more important to that first 20 seconds of the lap, and this is definitely that.
All right, 18 laps on deck when the race gets underway when we return to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Well, Roger Hayden, you know, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been obviously involved in this a bit longer than I have, but this looks to me to be one of the more stacked years in Supersport. Yeah, you know, Josh Herrin, you know, has moved out, but you got Tyler Scott. We know Stefano Mesa's fast, you know, with his performances. Michael Gilbert is back. Josh Hayes, Javi Flores, Teague Hobbs. These are all front-tier guys.
Yeah, and also it just seems like the parity in this class this year, all these riders are so close.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to think about who could be a championship contender. Tyler Scott, I think, obviously is the favorite. But if you look at these other guys, they have just as much potential as he does to, you know, really do well. And I think the first couple races is really going to tell in this class of who's going to be consistent from each race, and it's going to be interesting to see. And Xavi Flores, I mean, we didn't mention him. He's come here this year at Supersport. And then also at Daytona, Teague Hobbs is really impressive at Daytona. You know, his first time in the class. I know it wasn't a points-paying race, but for him, he was super impressive in practice qualifying. The whole weekend, he was really strong.
And also, you know, a couple of guys to think about, maybe Anthony Mazziato for Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing on the number 23. We've seen him put in some very exciting runs. And Danilo Lewis from Team Brazil, I mean, he's been doing this a while and is always right up there. And I think we need to make a comment about Mallory Dobbs on the number 36 Mallory Dobbs Racing entry. She is one of the first riders ever to step up, I believe, from the Build, Train, Race program from Royal Enfield to actually say, look, you know, I did okay. I want to get after this and go racing. She has been doing at the pro level. She's been doing some club racing as well, and that's really cool to see too.
Yeah, it's great, and just to see more ladies in the field, you know, just like Kayla. You know, you want these young girls to see that they can do it as well, and hopefully bring more to the track.
And one more person to keep an eye on out there, folks. Starting in the 28 spot is the number 28, because he had an off in qualifying, is Corey Ventura for Disrupt Racing. And he, you know, was showing some pretty good pace, but had a little bit of an issue. So he's going to be somebody that I think can definitely work his way up through the pack as well.
Yeah, I had a crash yesterday morning in the first practice, and they couldn't get the bike repaired in time for Q1. And then with the weather conditions this morning, nobody got to go any quicker with the rain overnight. So he's getting, going to have to start pretty far back. But definitely he's a guy that has podium super sport races before. And he's on a good team and a good bike. So I assume, this weekend's going to be difficult coming from the back. But he's going to be a tough guy to beat throughout the year.
Absolutely, and it's a sizable field here, over 30 bikes scheduled to take the start here for Supersport Race 1 here as part of MotoAmerica Superbikes at Atlanta. Time for us to get it over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore for the call.
Warm-up lap underway at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for our first race in Supersport of the season. For those of you that watched road racing back in March, the Daytona 200, that was not part of the MotoAmerica Supersport Championship. So this is it. Jay, here's the starting grid as Ty Scott on pole.
And look at Stefano Mesa and Michael Gilbert going to round out that front row with Hayes. Xavi Flores, fresh from World Endurance last week, and Teague Hobbs next to him. Carl Soltis, Jarrett Nassani. Mazziato, Jagalov there in 10th. Good run for him. LaRoche, Danilo Lewis, Greg, on that MV Agusta. Then we got Burleson. Alex Dormioto's coming back from big injury. Good to see him back. Sathaler, Hopkins, Riverosa, and Zaragoza a little bit further. Row 7, Greg, Ortiz, Aristine, and Ivy. And then we have Mullins, Bamer, and Mallory Dobbs up from the Pacific Northwest. And Corey Ventura, who unfortunately crashed in the first qualifying yesterday, Greg, so he had to go out in wet qualifying this morning. That's why you see the 28 so far back. And rounding out, we saw Trenton Keys and Aaron Rothenberger there.
We're going to keep an eye on the 28 in the 25th position on row number 9 of Corey Ventura We know that he is a race winner. He's super fast, and we'll look at his progression coming through the field. Right on the right part of your screen. Ty Scott leads the way. Of course, back in 5th place is Xavi Forés. Jason mentioned on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. That's the #1 bike from last year, Josh Herron's bike. So here we go, 18 laps, race number 1. Revs are up, lights on. Now we're away as Michael Gilbert from the front row on the 55, coming back from injury. He got a great launch, and it looks like Gilbert is going to be 2nd place is
Xavi
Forés. What a start he got. Gilbert trying to go up the inside as they head to the top of the hill. It's Gilbert who wants the clean air, but he's side by side with Forés.
And
not
Hayes,
his first run, by the way, Xavi Forés here at Road Atlanta.
Hayes gets himself into 3rd, Greg. I saw him make a great move. So he went up that hill. I think he snuck up the inside of Mesa through the middle of turn 1. Hayes gets himself into 2nd now as he looks to go up at the inside. Michael Gilbert in turn 5. So they're chasing this Ducati down the best they can. Hayes is on a flyer. He did exactly what he said he needed to do.
What a launch by Xavi Forés. The 37 of Mesa on that green and black Kawasaki. Looks like he had a notion. But where's Ty Scott? 5th place.
Looks like he's about 5th there, Greg, with his teammate Teague Hobbs just behind. And I'm looking to see who that rider is in 7th. But now we're going to be able to see we have Suzuki, we have a Ducati, we have Kawasaki, and we have a Yamaha all at the front of this pack right now. And Josh Hayes, you know where he likes to go. He likes to lead. He's got a lot of laps here, and he's going to stuff it down the inside of Xavi Forés as they go down into turn 10. Looks like Jarrett Nassani with a problem there on the 59 on the left-hand side of our screen. But Josh Hayes coming down the hill to lead the first lap.
So the Squid Hunter Yamaha R6 has the lead, but here comes Xavi Forés. That's a bold move under braking as Hayes looks over his shoulder and said, where did that come from? All the while, this dicing is given the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki riders. Are they able to close the gap? Just slightly. But Mesa, Tyler Cycles goes right up to 2nd place, and Mesa with a tighter line up the hill, trying to look for some room in the lead into turn number 2. That's the right part of your screen. No, it's got to be Forés.
Yeah, this pass here really surprised Hayes, I think, as he lost a lot of drive on the exit as well. And you can see Mesa there on the 37. He runs it out to the left, gets a good drive, and is able to go past that R6 as they came onto the front straightaway. And now you're going to see there in the bottom right, Xavi Forés, fresh from World Superbike, Greg, as well. And comes over to America. He has raced here before, as you said.
Yeah, at one time he gave it a go at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta some years ago. So Xavi Forés on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. Oh!
That was big. He lost the front big time in the middle of turn 7. I know you were looking at your notes for just a second.
I just saw the whole thing, yeah.
Xavi Forés loses the front, loses all his drive. Michael Gilbert now closing up onto the back of both him and Hayes as they come down into this break-in area. And Stefano Mesa leading the way. Oh, Xavi Forés going for a big move as he goes down the inside of Mesa down into turn 10.
Xavi Forés, keep in mind, doesn't have a lot of time on these American-made Dunlop tires at all, but he's got a lot of confidence in the front end of that Panigale V2. So it's Forés who's very fast from basically the middle of turn 10 up and down the hill onto the front straightaway.
He's incredible so far under braking, and he knows this team won the championship on this bike last year, and they chose him to come back and replace Josh Herron, who won the championship and moved up to Superbike. So Forés wants to keep his nose right at the front. As you can see, Mesa is taking another look, and this is on the left-hand side of your screen. Watch that front wheel, goes over a small bump. He loses the front, which loses the rear, but it kind of spits him right back into the seat, Greg, and he saves it. And it was only a turn later that he passed for the lead.
Xavi Forés, who notches another tick on his life belt, I guess you could say. He's a recent father. He's, no, that one, yeah, but he's also a father now. So Xavi Forés right now for the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team, looking like they have made a smart choice. And you can see the
how many people are in the dance party there, you know?
Yeah, look at those GSXR 750s. Michael Gilbert back there on the 55 is starting to lose touch on that Michael Gilbert Racing GSXR 750. But he's got a good draft with Hayes. Forés down the hill. And just look, that bike, that Ducati looks very stable under hard braking.
But it looks good at the top of the hill, full lean, and you know, sometimes, Greg, when you're drafting up over the top of that hill, you'll get a lot of wind buffeting as a rider. It'll move you around, and so when you start getting into that braking area, it can make it unstable. The Ducati looks really, really good at the top of the hill, all the way down into that braking zone where you start to roll the throttle off. So, yeah, he's got a lot of confidence under the brakes, and that's going to play into the hands later as far as the race goes. We're only 4 laps into 18 here, and Xavi's going to know that. But we still got a lot of race to go, still got a lot of tire wear that can happen here too. So he's trying to split this group up and try to pull people along.
What a great addition to our paddock is Xavi Forés, isn't he, Hannah?
He is, Greg, and like you mentioned, he has been to this track before. In 2004 was the last time. The layout was just a little bit different, but he said he's got up to speed pretty quickly here. He is still learning this bike and these tires, as you also mentioned. They did have some testing planned, but he and his wife welcomed their first baby just a few weeks back, so he wasn't able to. He hasn't been able to ride the bike since Daytona. He wanted to see what he could do at Daytona, but he just wasn't able to. It was not to be. So this will be his first full-length race to see how he stacks up, and so far, so good.
Yeah, definitely so far so good, but Jason Pridmore, you mentioned it. I think the unknowns are going to be, how is he with tire wear?
Tire wear is going to be, could be a thing. It's not extremely hot here in Atlanta right now. It's pretty good, but you know, you can see that this Kawasaki that Mesa's on is not slow. He chose not to pull out of the draft there, and Hayes is just going to be just sticking around. Josh told me second half of the race is going to be the important one for the 4 here, as you see the Squid Hunter bike roll through turn 10 and 10A, and Hayes just wants to keep these guys in tow. Maybe they're just going to let Forés do a little bit of that work right now. We haven't seen, as you said, we haven't seen those GSXR 750s get quite close enough yet. You see Michael Gilbert is the lead rider of those 750s. He's got Tyler Scott behind him, Teague Hobbs, who was incredibly impressive to me at Daytona, sitting there in 6th place as well. So top 6 guys are all pretty close right now, and lap times 30.182 that time for Forés, 30.1 from Ty Scott, just a little bit further back. So they're all running in that 30.1, 30.2 range, all top 6.
79 is Teague Hobbs, in addition to the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team during the off-season. Trying to stay in tow, trying to follow his teammate Tyler Scott, who just went fastest lap of the race, won 30.1. Now, we're looking at Stefano Mesa, who goes really well here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. You're looking at a Ducati Panigale V2, one of the next generation bikes in Supersport. Then you have your more traditional Kawasaki ZX6R, that's a 636 displacement. And then the bike that actually sets the benchmark for performance for all these bikes that are balanced is the Yamaha R6 of Josh Hayes. And then you have a trio of GSXR 750s that are next gen. The bike's been around a long time, but there have been modifications to that motorcycle, electronic modifications, throttle-by-wire system, and ECUs and stuff that allow this bike to be controlled. So we have a great mix and a very balanced class here in MotoAmerica Supersport.
Yeah, we got 4 brands, Greg, right there. So as you say, it's very balanced and very fair. And I think that, right now, Michael Gilbert trying his best to kind of keep these guys in tow. He does a nice job of it, but I think that when you look at what's really happening, Hayes does lose a little bit of a drive out of that last corner and acceleration, but look how much he makes up through the middle of turn 1 as they come up the top of this hill. For Josh Hayes, every lap down that back straightaway is going to be a lap where he's going to be trying to learn of what he can actually do with these guys. We haven't seen him be able to draft past them or get up alongside of them so much. He's probably going to be taking his time ever so slightly, even though we know the number 4 likes nothing more than to lead these races. But Forés, extremely good, like we said, under braking, and he does pull away from these guys even down into turn 10 when he's by himself. Ty Scott runs 29.9 that last time through to run the fastest lap of the race.
So Ty Scott on the move, really starting to feel out his motorcycle on that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. Of course, Tytler Cycles coming on board for the 37 of Mesa. Second rider in your screen on that Kawasaki ZX6R. As Mesa going to run the entire season this year, Jay, and that's a welcome sign for everybody in the Supersport paddock.
Well, we've been waiting for that. And you see Michael Gilbert had a little look at Josh Hayes as they came down the hill. It's interesting to see if those 2 Suzukis, and you can see Teague Hobbs now trying to get himself back up to the back. He was just slipping back a little bit, Greg, but he was able to kind of get himself back in the groove on this lap. Hannah?
Jay, Greg was just mentioning Stefano Mesa being in the Supersport class for the full season, so he's really excited for this opportunity, feeling good with the new team. He actually hadn't seen this bike until yesterday, and he's feeling really confident on it so far. He also will be running the Super Hooligans with Tytlers as well this season, so a lot of track time for him, and if you know anything about Stefano Mesa, you know he loves to be in the seat.
Yeah, you're not lying. He does a lot of club racing still, and maybe this year, maybe that'll wane off a little bit, only because he's going to be so busy with some of the MotoAmerica duties. There's a couple tracks I know he has, or at least one track I know he hasn't been to in the Ridge up in Washington, but I think for a lot of years, Greg, we've been wanting to see the 37 run a full season on competitive machinery, and it looks like he's got something here with the Tytlers guys.
Yeah, don't forget, he's filling in for Kayla Yakov in the Revit Twins Cup category too, is Mesa on the Wagbar MP13 racing team. So he's getting plenty of laps around this racetrack as he normally does. But the impressive rider right now has to be Xavi Forés, a rider who hasn't been here since 2004. Jason, I mean, seriously, since 2004, you've been to a lot of different racetracks at different times. Do you remember anything when you actually roll out the first time?
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely going to have some memories of this place. As you can see now, Michael Gilbert making a move or trying to make a move on Josh Hayes there. No, look, these guys are world class. And I always tell you, Greg, that no matter where you go in the world, there's really no such thing as a home track advantage. I mean, you're looking at two guys behind Xavi Forés right now in Mesa and Hayes who've done more laps around here than probably just about anybody, okay? And this guy comes here and he's leading. Yeah, he's on a good bike with a great team and so on. But there is no home track advantage. These guys get up to speed immediately, and he was yesterday in morning practice. He was up to speed almost immediately, was the 12. So even though he'd been here, and I believe it was a 2004 Suzuki Cup, is that what it was?
Suzuki Cup, yes.
The Suzuki Cup finals. So that's when he was here. And do you know how old he was? Probably 16 or?
Yeah,
I heard he was a teenager.
Yeah, teenager.
Yeah, but you're still gonna, go into a place like this. He's going to go to somewhere like Road America, and who knows if he's getting a chance to go look at these tracks prior. We don't know that yet to know if he's actually gone to any of these tracks. But Road America being 4 miles long would be a little bit harder to learn because you don't get as many laps. But yeah, this guy's world class.
And the other thing I want to mention too about what he's doing right now, Xavi Forés just set his personal best lap of the race on the last lap. He's continuing to feel what these Dunlops are like. But Jay, he hasn't been within, I think, 0.3 of a second this entire race. He did a 1:30.060. And the last couple laps, every time I take a look over at him, he's doing 1:30.1, 1:30.2. It's that consistency. Part of what Xavi Forés knows from World Endurance experience that definitely pays dividends and gets you results. So now we have a pack of 5 with just off the back is the 70. He's right there. There's Josh Hayes making a move.
Josh was getting ready to get passed by the 55 at Gilbert, and he just let off the brakes and then goes up underneath Mesa as well. So Hayes might want to come up and take a shot and see if he could try to lead a lap or two of this race. And you can see just up in the distance there, we saw that there was a back marker that they are catching. That rider's done a good job of pulling over to the right-hand side. You'll probably see them out of this next shot. But look at the lead, Greg. We're at 6 tenths now. Xavi Forés gets into turn 1 a little deep, though. That's going to cost them some time. There's that back marker I was talking about. This is a horrible place to get caught right here.
And Hayes knew it. He knew he had to get around that back marker, the 31, just to get moving.
Ty Scott's going to come out as the real loser in that, unfortunately. It looked like, see that gap now?
Oh, yeah.
That's horrible. That's a bad spot to catch somebody right at the top of the hill there.
So this isn't deep into the race that Hayes spoke about, but we're getting to the halfway point. And I think for Josh Hayes, he's seen something that says, hey, wait a second, maybe there's a vulnerability here for Mesa. Maybe he saw the bike moving around a little bit more. We see some bobbles coming out of the rear end of the Ducati of Xavi Forés.
It looked like he's switching a map. Did you see Xavi Forés look over to the left handlebar there?
Yep.
Might be doing a map change or something like that. Maybe
adding some TC or
adding some TC or whatever he might need. Maybe he feels something, and with 9 laps in, we're halfway through. Josh looks like he wants to take a shot on the brakes here as they come down into turn 10, and he's going to do it right now.
Pass for the lead, Josh Hayes, Squid Hunter, Yamaha R6. So there goes Josh Hayes going after that all-time win record across all categories in AMA racing. Motorcycle road racing, so Hayes takes the point. Now Forés, we're going to see how much push he has. Coming across the stripe, it's Hayes who goes 31.1. Or sorry, 30.2
yep.
to Xavi Forés is 31.1. Only 0.2 off the fastest lap of the race for Hayes.
The other thing you got to think about too is Xavi Forés not just getting used to new bike and new track. He's getting right used to riding against new people. The one guy he's more than heard of is the number 4, Josh Hayes. But he probably doesn't know that much about Mesa, doesn't know that much about Michael Gilbert, Tyler Scott, or Teague Hobbs. So for Flores, it's just seeing patterns that these guys are running. But look, this is what Hayes does. He gets the lead, he loves to lead, and he's putting his head down right now to see what these guys have behind him. And the 4 has definitely got a big enough lead right now to where he's broke the draft as far as going down that back straightaway. That'll give Josh a big push of confidence. If he can get down to the end of the straightaway without being drafted, he'll know that he's got a little something special, under him to be able to maybe get away from these guys.
And Josh Hayes, of course, being a wily veteran at this pro level, he's been a pro racer for a long time. Don't forget, he started racing club races all the way back in the early 90s. 92, 93-ish, and he's done a bazillion laps around this racetrack and loves
Flores.
it. Look at Flores.
Wow.
That isn't even Hayes leaving the door open. That's Flores just getting there.
He gets drafted down the back straightaway by Mesa and then charges up the inside of Josh Hayes. So regardless of what you think there, Josh had a nice big gap. You see that bike moving around under Flores as he let the lever off there. The thing is that Josh Hayes probably was feeling pretty comfortable. All of a sudden, that red Ducati came sliding up underneath him as they went down into turn 10.
And Ty Scott just goes up to 4th place, does the fastest lap of the race the moment after Xavi Flores set the fastest lap of the race. So there, Xavi Flores goes 1:29.7, but behind him in 4th place, Ty Scott goes 1:29.2. So all of a sudden, that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, our pole sitter, Tyler Scott, really starting to find his rhythm. He's got to be making some moves as the laps start to wind down. We have about 7.5 to go, and it's Xavi Flores in the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati Panigale V2, a bike that was left open after the promotion of your national champ, Josh Herrin, who's now in the Medallia Superbike class.
Keep in mind also, as you look back, Ty Scott, he had that little bit of bad run through the traffic at the top of the hill through traffic. He went 28.9 yesterday in qualifying. So for him to run 29.2 with some 10 laps, 11 laps almost done here, that's an impressive run from him. And you can see Michael Gilbert is just fallen off the back, and Teague Hobbs has fallen off the back of these guys. 30.7 the last time through on Hobbs.
Gilbert not with a ton of time on that GSXR 750. And also coming back from injury, this is great track time for the 55, who we have seen unbelievably fast in stock 1000 over the last couple of years, is the 55 Michael Gilbert. And for those of you that don't have the MotoAmerica Live Plus app, this may be the first time you're hearing about Michael Gilbert on the 55. But he is a talent that we'll be keeping an eye on out of Tustin, California, back in 5th place, and he'll be trying to hold on to that position. But all eyes are up front between these two veterans. How many laps around racetracks did these two riders have? And Xavi Flores on that red Ducati number 12, and that blue and yellow Squid Hunter Yamaha R6 of Josh Hayes. Between the two of them, Jason, you have to say hundreds of thousands of miles
tons
on a racetrack.
Both, and both of them have done World Endurance too as well. So they're doing a lot.
Josh
of laps
Hayes
there.
has done MotoGP, World Supersport, World Endurance.
He's been everywhere. Josh Hayes has, and the thing is now, this is the key. Who and how are they going to get through these back markers? How easy it will be. This one here, they should be okay. All 4 of them should get by the tail ender. That guy does a great job just getting over to the right-hand side of the track and allows this race to push on through. Hayes is extremely strong in turn 1. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's where Xavi's a little bit slower than these guys is in turn 1. That could be laps, could be setup and things like that. But Hayes now is going to take a shot, try to take a shot at Flores. But again, Greg, like you said, Ducati is incredibly stable right there.
Strategy-wise, is this the move for Josh Hayes if he has the ability? I mean, Flores is so good down the hill under braking. There's 2 spots, so obviously it was 10A and now turn number 12. But if you're Hayes, do you just let this play out a little longer?
Well, what's funny is Xavi Flores doesn't look like he wants to follow, does he? At all. Like, he does not look like he wants to follow.
And we know Hayes doesn't.
At all. And so the problem that you have now is the number 4 hates to follow. 4 hates to follow himself. So he wants to lead as best as he can. As you can see him, all 4 of them have got through everybody really, really clean as they go up in through turn 2, 3, 4. Down the hill. But yeah, both these guys want to lead. Hayes is just better in some places and Xavi's better in others, but the braking zones are so key here in Atlanta, and Flores looks like he's got a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah, I think right now if you're Hayes, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have to disrupt his racing down into turn 10 and try to gap him as they head down into turn number 12. Here we go. This is going to be into turn 7, onto the back straightaway. They're going to pull the trigger here. And Forés, trying to get the bike upright and drive, has a long look over his shoulder to see what's happening behind him.
The other problem is Josh doesn't really know how much of a gap he really pulled on them that lap that he did lead. If you remember, he had a pretty big gap, but it wasn't big enough for that Ducati to not go by him. But look at the R6. He's got some wheels underneath him, this Josh Hayes, and this time he's going to put himself in a position to go through and go by. And what he did there, Greg, is he pulled up alongside and dictated who was going to get to that apex first. He didn't have to go past Forés, but he got up alongside of him, squeezed that lever on, and didn't allow Forés to go by. And Forés is going to do the favor right back at him.
I am surprised that Forés did that again. That's a move I probably would have saved a little bit later in the race, as we have 5 to go in Supersport race number 1. Mesa's still hanging there, and Ty Scott is just a couple bike lengths away from getting in the mix.
You say that, but Xavi Forés, again, he's been around a long time. He's probably knows. You know, somebody's probably told him Hayes loves to lead at the front all the time, and Forés just doesn't want to let Josh get comfortable. That's what it looks like from the booth here. He just doesn't want to let Hayes get comfortable. He saw Hayes disappear through this section on that lap about 3 or 4 or 5 laps ago when the 4 took the lead. Forés doesn't want to let that happen again.
Something tells me that Josh Hayes, if this is the position he's in, here's Xavi Forés' pass into turn number 12, but on the right part of your screen as we watch live pictures, Jay, something tells me that turn 1 is going to be the difference maker for Hayes in this one. Last time by, Forés was able to get a little bit of advantage into turn 1, but Hayes is getting a monster drive up there, and I think maybe a surprise pass into turn 2 might play in Hayes' favor if he thinks he's got some speed through the S's. But all the while, Mesa's got to foil the plans of these two if they're not thinking behind him about the 37.
See, now these two guys are just going to continue to battle down here, and let's not count out 37 to Mesa or Ty Scott. Ty Scott has really kept his nose clean back there and done a really nice job of probably helping conserve tires a little bit after that. You know, he got held up a little bit one lap. He ran these guys back down and ran the quickest lap of the race in doing so, did the 70. We saw him follow Heron around at Road America last year all the way to the last lap and do something. With 4 to go now, we'll see if Ty Scott has anything going. But watch this. Look at the gap that Ducati has there, and look at how tight Josh can run it up this hill.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what you're saying, yes.
By the way, personal best laps set again for Forés, Hayes, and Mesa. 29.4, 29.5, 29.6. It shows you how well these Dunlop tires are holding in there at this torrid pace. Some of that is draft. Some of that has to do also with the reduced fuel load as these bikes handle a little bit better, get a little bit more speed. But you can only do that if these Dunlop tires are going to stick both front and rear. Great job by the series tire manufacturer. Some lap traffic here. This doesn't look like it's going to be too much of an issue.
Nope, did a nice job.
Yeah.
67.
If you're new to racing, there are blue flags that fly for lap traffic when these leaders are coming through to indicate to those riders that they're on their way. And so lap traffic doing a good job of not getting involved in this race.
And real quick, for those wondering, Corey Ventura, Greg, is all the way up to 8th place.
Amazing.
All the way up to 8th place. So what could have been small mistake yesterday is you see Ty Scott. Now he goes past Mesa as they go down into turn 10. Mesa doing everything to get that bike slowed down. And this is kind of what I was thinking. I feel like Ty Scott's just been kind of sitting there, Greg. He's young, but he's incredibly intelligent, high IQ when it comes to riding a bike and racing strategy. So the 70 now finds himself up into 3rd, and he's going to be trying to close up on those 2 in front of him now.
29.6s. Jay, I mean, the whole front part of this race, these guys were doing 30.1, 30.2. Now they're just clicking off mid-29s. What happened there?
Well, fuel load's going down, pace is hotting up. Guys are trying to spread themselves out a little bit, and you know, again, these two guys here, Hayes extremely quick. This is where Josh just wishes he could be leading. Ty Scott lost some time there as they went through turn 1. Both him and Mesa both ran a little bit wide in the middle of turn 1. I did see they went down past a back marker, but he was well out of the way. And but we'll see if that GSXR 750 can run these guys back down, as they might get held up here a little bit in the middle of 7, which could affect the drive down the back straightaway. Nope, they're going to be okay. They're actually going to be able to maybe use that rider to draft pass. That rider does a good job also, Greg, at getting out of the way. We got about 2.5 laps left?
About that. So now next is the 25. We'll see if 25 is going to be able to get some good timing as they go side by side. Our leaders, the 12 and the 4. But Forés so deep on the brakes.
I can tell you right now, Josh wanted to be the first one to the next back marker, because this is where you can really do some damage if you're leading the race right here. Both Hayes and Forres are going to go through. It looks like, yeah, they both get by. Ty Scott's going to get by now also. Nice work from the 25. Declan there, he gets over to the right-hand side of the screen, lets those leaders go through.
All right, so 2 laps to go. This is where Hayes is able to make up some time on Forres. I guarantee you tonight, the team is going to look at this video, the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team and say, okay, this is where we need to make a small improvement here, because Forres looks strong in most sections of this track. This is where Hayes has got so much experience.
He just can't get through there by himself, though. We've only seen Hayes lead down that one time, haven't we? And when he did, he pulled a big gap. But look at Ty Scott, Greg. He's closed up on the back of these guys again. So the number 70, Relentless, just trying to stay there. I'm looking at the splits in this first little sector. We'll have a look.
Oh, and Forres with a big mistake.
Yep.
Big mistake on the front end. Another save. He looks over his shoulder. And now it's about Ty Scott.
That's going to be the big benefactor right there, because what that did is it slowed those 2 up as they came out of turn 7, and the 70 is going to lead as they come down that back straightaway. Forres is going to do everything he can to outbrake Scott as they get down into this section. Turn 10, we've seen him strong the whole time, and he does get past. Now that, unfortunately, was really bad for Hayes that Forres made that mistake, because Josh has been showing that he can stay in that draft, and that actually screwed him up a little bit on the 4.
Yeah, it's one thing to work on Xavi Forres by himself, but now for Hayes, if he wants to win, he's got a couple other. Here comes the white flag. This is the final lap. And all the while, Mesa is still in the mix. He's right there on that Tytler Cycles Kawasaki, but it's Forres deep into turn 1, trying to get it turned. We'll see what Hayes has coming up the hill. That tighter line, that good drive. Now, Ty Scott's got a good one as well. So Hayes not able to make up a ton of time. This is the section of the track where Ty Scott had some issues the lap before. Gets it nice and clean there. Now we're going to see a couple next-gen bikes going at it.
Yeah, we got 4 brands at the front. I mean, I just love seeing that we've got, you know, 4 different manufacturers represented here, and now we're going to see if the 750 has anything for that Ducati as they go down the back straightaway. He's closed up onto the back of Xavi Forres. Josh was extremely fast up through 1, but lost a little time, hasn't he, Greg, through the run down through the S's. And I don't know if the R6 actually has the wheels to draft past both of these bikes, but we're going to see right now. Mesa, again, he's going to be trying to draft Josh as well.
Here we go, final time down the back straightaway for Supersport, and Mesa goes around Hayes for 3rd spot. Here comes Ty Scott. He goes around for the lead, but this is where Forres has been so strong. Is Scott going to try to protect the inside? There's not enough inside to protect. There goes Forres around. Hayes goes up the inside of Mesa as well. So it's Forres who's going to head down the hill, and he's been the strongest all day. Is Xavi Forres going to show up here in America and win his first Supersport race in his first attempt? Out of the final corner, Forres hard on the gas. He's driving towards finish line around lap traffic, and he barely makes it. He squeaks it out by 41 thousandths of a second. It's Xavi Forres over Ty Scott, Josh Hayes in 3rd, Mesa in 4th, as we wait the arrival of Michael Gilbert on his return. He'll come across in 5th spot with T. Hobbs in 6th.
Did you see? I'm trying to see who they caught here, because Forres is literally out on the white line. He had to make a decision right now of what side he was going to go through, and he chose the left. Did you see this back marker? Just doesn't even know what's happening as these 4 come ripping by him across the line. What a win for Xavi Forres. You can see he barely beat Scott across the line. Welcome to America.
41 thousandths of a second. That's what that looks like. So Xavi Forres takes his Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati Panigale V2 to its maiden victory. And look, Jason, and this is what's so impressive on the right part of your screen as we look at the race pace. All those 30s in the middle part, beginning part, and then just started ripping off 29s. Fastest lap of the race with 3 to go. Incredible.
Yeah, really good and consistent too, and you know, it does a 29.7 even with what happened out of that last corner in the last lap. So that could have even been a lower, probably 29. And you know, we can see these guys come under the bridge, and I saw somebody out in front. All 4 guys got a little checked up going down into that last corner. But this guy made the right decision at the right time, and to make that split-second decision is nothing but experience, Greg, coming out of that last corner and squeeze through on the left-hand side there on that white line.
To think about the braking ability, the control he has over that Ducati. I mean, the bikes look very evenly balanced to me in terms of top speed, acceleration, but where Forres shined the most is under downhill braking.
Yep.
Just incredible.
No, he wasn't going to be denied. And I think that when Ty Scott looks back at this, maybe the only thing he could have done possibly is continue to move over to the left for turn 10, get even more further to the left. Make that guy go down the outside of you, if anything else. But Ty Scott will learn from that, as will Hayes. All these guys are going to come back tomorrow after watching this race back and figure out the places that they might be able to get better tomorrow.
A little top back Razgatlioglu action for you by Xavi Forés. And by the way, the Corey Ventura, 8th place from the last row on the grid. We'll be back to hear from Xavi Forés about his race and how much he enjoyed it.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Wow. How close do you like that one? That was incredible. Xavi Forés, you can see the excitement getting his first Supersport win. Looks like the Ducati leaving off right where Josh Herrin left it. How'd you like it?
You know, it was a special treat for me so far today because this is the third one that I get to see get that first win. I'm not sure if this was his first win ever, first Supersport you said, but it's so exciting to see a first-time winner, and I've gotten to do a lot of that today.
Yeah, he came from World Superbike rider, so he comes over here. He has a lot of experience, but it's his first time in MotoAmerica Supersport, and there's just so much for him to learn coming over. Didn't do a lot of testing. They went to Daytona and had a couple issues there, but it's great to see him. We were always wondering how he was going to adjust the Dunlop tires, and looks like he's adjusting pretty well. Tyler Scott there. What a ride by him. Second place. We thought he was out of it about 3 laps ago, and the next thing you know, you see him trying to take the lead down the back straight. So that's a great start by him. He wants to be a championship contender, and you know, being such a young guy, it's incredible to see him already a podium contender every weekend.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He is such a young-looking guy. It amazes me what they're capable of. One of the things that was on my mind a little while ago was the adrenaline crash that must happen after these races. I don't know if they somehow wait till the end of the day or does it happen after the race is over, but it just amazes me.
Yeah, the big thing now is a lot of these riders, there's 2 races one weekend, so you're probably already debriefing with your crew, already thinking about the second race, what areas you could have improved, where you were losing time at. Unless you win the race, then you have a lot of excitement like he does. But right now, you're kind of talking to the Dunlop engineers, kind of talking to your crew, seeing where you can improve there. Josh Hayes was close to that record today, but just didn't get it. It's incredible to come here and be that quick at 48 years old.
It sure is. You know, I used to be the young girl, then I was the girl, now I'm the old girl at the NHRA drag races, but I'm trying to hang in there as well. So I know it's so hard to walk away from any sport that you love, and so I can imagine these guys are going through the same thing. You know, they're getting up there in age, but they just don't want to stop.
No, but he gets another chance at it tomorrow. A little bit off yesterday, but you know, one thing about Josh Hayes, been around for a long time. I raced him forever. When the lights go out, even if he's off pace, he is going to be there and fighting for the win. Not giving an inch, and looked like you could tell in the middle of the race he was trying to get the lead, just didn't happen. So.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
41 thousandths margin of victory between Xavi Torres and Ty Scott. And Jason, there were a ton of great passes in this Supersport race.
Boy, there were, Greg, and it was all happening down in this turn 10. You see Ty Scott go by Mesa there, but you know we see Xavi made a couple little small mistakes in turn 7 that he'll try to correct. But man, the man on the brakes today was that number 12. Torres was able to get that Ducati pretty much anywhere he wanted under heavy braking. But this move here is the one I'm going to remember. Making that split-second decision to go down the left side of the back marker to close this race out and get his first win here at MotoAmerica was a big move.
Let's take a look at the final race results. It's going to be Xavi Torres over Ty Scott, Josh Hayes, your podium. Mesa right there. Great points haul for him. Michael Gilbert has returned to racing in 5th spot over Teague Hobbs, Carl Sotis, and Corey Ventura all the way from the back of the grid up into 8th place. And a very familiar name, Anthony Mazziato in Supersport. He finishes in 9th position on his Yamaha R6. Well, that was amazing. And I can't wait to hear what Hannah has to say with Xavi Torres, who's in winner's circle.
Picking up where his teammate left off last season, but certainly making a statement of his own on his MotoAmerica Supersport debut. Xavi Torres with his first ever victory in the class. 2 laps to go, a bit of a mistake there. How were you able to recover and still pull off this victory?
Yeah, it was a crazy race, especially because I had not so much laps on dry conditions, but I did a good start and I had my rhythm, so I was pulling my rhythm. I understood that I was not that fast on the first split, so I tried to stay on the front all the time to block a little bit the guys. But yeah, on the second, third lap, I had a big mistake on the turn 7, nearly high-sided, and I recovered on the brakes. I was so strong on the brakes, so at the end, Tyler on the last lap overtook me on the back straights, but I was quite confident on my braking point, so it was nice to arrive here and win the race, even if I had no time to rest during the race. Good job to Tyler and Josh. They've been pushing a lot, and it was so much fun on the race.
Now that you've had the opportunity to race alongside some of these guys that you've never ridden near before, is there anything that you were able to learn that you will take with you into tomorrow's race?
Well, for sure I need to improve something on my bike because I was a little bit on the bottom of the fork every time. And if I can improve a little bit that, hopefully it's slightly better. But with Josh, you always learn something. Especially he overtook me in one of the laps. He was in front of me on the first sector and he was pulling meters away and say, wow, if I keep this guy going, I will not have a chance to win. So I had to overtake him again. And yeah, for sure, tomorrow is going to be another race, completely different. They have experience. They've been following me all the race, so for sure they will understand my weakness on the lap. So let's see what happens tomorrow.
Congratulations to Xavi Torres, our third first-time race winner in MotoAmerica today. Moving on over to our second-place finisher, and a very close second-place finish at that. How were you able, Tyler Scott, to capitalize on Xavi's mistake and just nearly beat him to the line?
Yeah, I got a horrible start to begin with. The jump was good, and then just didn't let the clutch out soon enough. So I had a long way to work from the back and just chipping away. And I tried to follow him for a few laps to get a strategy for the end. And I thought if I could pass him really early or really at the right point on the backstretch, I would have enough of a gap going into the turn 10, I think it is. And he's just super great on the brakes, and I haven't rode with him all weekend, so I thought I kind of had it a little bit, but I was hoping for another mistake out of the last corner with the lap rider, but big thanks to the whole Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team, Dustin, Jeremy, the whole team. We've made so much progress from the beginning of last year. The bike setting's better, the whole team program's better, and I'm super excited for tomorrow.
Second place finish today for Tyler Scott, and moving on over, I know it's not the all-time wins record for Josh Hayes today, but a podium sure isn't a bad thing. Take us through that race. You and Xavi were really dicing it up out there.
Man, I had so much fun. I was, I gave it the best. I gave it everything I had. I had so much fun riding out there. I was riding really, really hard. I was fast in all the wrong places, you know, so I had some speed to do some good stuff. I could put some pressure on them, but I just didn't have it quite enough, and it was just a matter of trying to position yourself well. We got a little caught up with a few people here and there. I didn't quite know how many people were still there, but I felt like even though I was behind Xavi, I knew I was getting pulled along pretty good, and I kept thinking, man, I feel like I'm seeing shadows around me, and maybe they're just waiting until the end, and sure enough, there comes Tyler. So, you know, I would have liked to have gotten that last lap clean and been behind Xavi. He was getting into 10 so good, but I don't know. I might have just seen a battle of the wheels. We might have both gone through the grass trying to win that thing. So I just had a good time. The Squid Hunter guys have given me such a good motorcycle. I love riding this thing every time. I love being at Road Atlanta. I like seeing people parked all along the back straightaway, all over the hill in turn 5. All you guys here at the podium, thank you for coming out, and I'm going to try to put on a good show again tomorrow too. But
Josh Hayes rounding out your Supersport podium today. Greg?
Well, we had a lot to digest between those veteran racers telling us their story. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in a moment.
All right, guys, head this way for podium, please.
Xavi Flores' first win on the Warhorse HSBK bike. I noticed a thing in the race too. You know, these guys, they haven't raced with him yet, and everybody has like different race strategy and race crap. And now they know how strong he is on the brakes, getting to ride with him in turn 10. You heard Tyler Scott mention that, you know, he hasn't been around him even in practice or, you know, even in qualifying. So now they can kind of go back, regroup, and you know, when you race with somebody, you kind of learn their strengths and their weaknesses. And then when you're going through the race and you're battling like they was, you know, you kind of let that play out and you think about it. Just like Xavi said with Josh Hayes, he led him through the first sector one time and almost left him. And he said, if he leads through there again, I'm not going to be able to stay with him. So that's why he was so aggressive, making sure that he was going to lead, because he knew during that first sector that he could lose the gap to Josh. So all those guys have learned a lot today, I think, about racing against each other. And then tomorrow I think we'll see a different race.
I'm definitely learning myself the strategies that these guys have and how there's a lot of offensive and defensive racing out there. One thing I just learned from Josh's interview is it definitely tells me how he's won so many races. I guess the seat time gives you the opportunity to learn how to pay attention to your surroundings. I did the 2-up yesterday, and I didn't even know where I was on the racetrack, and here he is noticing the people in the straightaways and you know, how they're parked and what's going on around him. So that's very, very impressive.
And also just the experience he has. I mean, this is a great opportunity for a kid like Tyler Scott, being able to race a guy like Josh Hayes with all the Superbike titles, you know, being such a young kid. He's going to learn so much, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's race too.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Back at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as Xavi Flores gets celebrations going for his accomplishment in his first MotoAmerica Supersport win. There's a lot of stories still to be told here, and Hannah is with someone else who's got a good story to tell. Hannah, what you got?
Michael Gilbert is certainly one of them, re-entering the Supersport class for the entirety of this season and back after being out on injury last season from the Stock 1000 class. Tell us a little bit about how your recovery is and how you're feeling for a 5th place finish today.
Yeah, absolutely. I had 2 broken legs on opposite legs, a broken femur on the left and a broken ankle on the right. And to be honest, it's been a really long time since I've been on a motorcycle and at the MotoAmerica paddock. So to be back here at Road Atlanta, to come out swinging, we were on the front row yesterday, couldn't be more happy with it. The race today, you know, I got an incredible start. I was really, really happy and with where I was at. These guys just had a little something extra on me getting through the middle of the corner, and I was really having to ride my butt off getting in. And that being said, I lost the front one lap, probably, I don't know, 10 to go. And instantly I pumped up. My arm pumped up, and I was kind of starting to ride tight, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bring it back. You know, it's been a long time, score some valuable points, get the year started, and have a good race tomorrow and head off to Barber.
Now that you've got that first race behind you, thinking ahead to tomorrow, is there anything you'd like to do differently or better?
We got a little bit of work to do on the motorcycle tonight. We got to find a little bit of edge grip and find a little bit of roll speed through the middle of the corner, and hopefully I don't have to ride so hard on the way in to stay with these guys. So we'll do our homework, we'll look at the data, and we'll come out swinging tomorrow morning to warm up.
Michael Gilbert, sure to be in the mix all season long. Greg?
Yeah, it's really good to have him back, and pretty incredible for those that haven't ridden in a long time to get your brain back up to speed. Let's take a look at some highlights. Jason Pridmore, race number 1, Supersport. It was a banger.
Yeah, and you heard Michael say he got a great start, and you can see him there, but Flores, even at the beginning, was already showing that he could just let go of that lever. Hayes was able to slide up underneath Michael Gilbert into turn 5, and then we saw Josh take the lead going into turn 10, and this was a scene that we'd see a lot. Flores firing right back. He was so good coming down that hill out of that, going into that last corner. Hayes took a couple shots himself as they went into turn 10. You see him sliding up underneath, but only to have that favor repaid again by the 12. Back markers also were a little bit of a part of this show, Greg, as you'll see later on in this. But Xavi Flores made a small mistake in turn 7 with 2 to go, which allowed Ty Scott to draft back past both of them, only for Flores to outbrake him once again. And when we came out of the corner, back marker looking around, guys are all over the place, and here you go. Flores goes to the left, Ty Scott goes to the right. That's your podium, first, second, third. Hayes there doing a nice job. And look, shout out to Stefano Mesa, Greg. He was right there in that mix as well.
Yeah, he definitely was. Well, this is the way we pay points in MotoAmerica. After race number 1, it's Xavi Flores with 25, and then Ty Scott earns himself 20, Hayes 16, and on down till we get to that 5th, 6th place. Then we start paying 1 point all the way down to 15th spot. So the top 15 get those points. So Xavi Flores is all of a sudden race 1 winner and your championship leader. And Jason, we've seen over the last couple of years, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, to riders that come from overseas, it really helps them out quite a bit. I mean, it's a track that they enjoy.
Got a lot of flow, this place, and a lot of European tracks have that. So this is a spot where Xavi was, amazing to watch under braking, but he'll work on that first sector for tomorrow. I think that's going to be the main thing for that Warhorse Ducati team, is to get him a little bit more comfortable in that first half.
So homework to be done tonight as we expect an outstanding race with spectacular weather here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in Braselton, Georgia. So Jason, I think when we look at it, this isn't the tale of the season, but I think if you look at the Medallia Superbike class over the last couple of years, we've seen a couple of Europeans come over here and make their mark. So the rest of our field is going to be keeping an eye on Xavi Flores to make sure he doesn't run away with this championship.
Absolutely. Now they know where he's strong, too, so they're going to be making some strides to get their bike strong under braking, especially going into tomorrow, Greg.
We'll do it all again for race number 2 for Jason Pridmore, Hanalofa, and our entire crew. We certainly appreciate you watching. Congratulations to Xavi Flores, his maiden victory here in MotoAmerica. Can he get it done tomorrow? We look forward to seeing how that goes. See you then.